2016, Quinlan tech company, a Chinese game developer, acquired a 60% stake in the American dating app Grindr. By early 2018, Quinlan had completed the buyout by adding another 40%. Together, it spent $245 million to complete both transactions, buying out the company completely. But the US government was alarmed by the deal. It saw it as a potential threat to national security. Grindr is a dating app for gay, bisexual, and transgender people, and the purchase became the focus of criticism for various reasons. The app's geolocation could allow precise tracking of its users. This could compromise the safety as well as the privacy of these individuals. Reports surfaced that authorities in countries like Egypt had used Grindr to locate and arrest gay men. In response, the app temporarily disabled its distance feature worldwide. In May of 2016, concerns grew when Kyoto researchers showed that users could still be located if they hid their distance on the app. They used a method called colluding trilateration. The attack model works with any location-based service app that shows profiles of nearby users in order of proximity, not just Grindr. It shows that it was alarmingly easy to find users' location using the app. Such vulnerabilities show the risk of foreign ownership of a platform with sensitive data. In April 2018, a Norwegian nonprofit showed that Grindr's data bundles sold to third parties that might include users' status on HIV and testing dates. This revelation led to scrutiny of Grindr's data policy practices, although the company insists that it has never sold personally identifiable information. The incident shows the risk of letting a Chinese firm control an app with sensitive user information. This is especially true in today's geopolitical climate. As concerns grew, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the US began investigating Grindr's ownership. The CFI-US was established in 1975 to prevent politicizing foreign investments, and it has since broadened its view on national security threats. The agency's intervention was noteworthy. Between 2005 and 2007, less than 5% of transactions filed by the agency resulted in a formal investigation. Yet between 2014 to 2016, more than 42% of transactions produced an investigation, and this is an 8-fold increase from before. Between 1975 and 2011, the CFI-US blocked only one transaction. Since 2012, more than 6 transactions have been blocked or scrutinized, all of which have been Chinese entities. The general theme behind the ban or scrutinization include data privacy, sensitive information or technology, and security concerns. This includes MoneyGram and Ant Financial in 2018. The CFI-US halted the merger over fears of Chinese access to sensitive financial information. This is among several other examples. The potential for foreign entities to gain access to sensitive information was a key factor in the CFI-US's concern over the acquisition of Grindr. Grindr's users include US officials and contractors. Their info could be used to blackmail or coerce them. By 2019, Grindr had 13 million daily active users worldwide compared to 2.4 million when it was initially purchased. By March of 2019, the CFI-US pressure grew, so Quinlan halted its IPO plans and thought a buyer for Grindr. In March of 2020, it announced a sale of its stake to US-based San Vicente Acquisition LLC for $608 million. This marked a major shift for the app's ownership. This case shows a trend in the US government. It is tightening its stance on foreign investment, especially from China. There has been a big drop in Chinese investment in US tech firms. They fell from $18.7 billion in 2016 to just $2.2 billion in 2018. The Grindr situation reflects a wider concern also about the Chinese intervention as a whole, where data privacy and sensitive technology and information are considered vital. The case of Grindr relates to Graham Allison's theory of Ulysses' trap. It says that rising power often conflicts with an established one. As China rises as a global economic power, the US worries about its impact on American businesses and its citizens. Supporting this idea, Allison led a study at Harvard University's Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs. They found that among a sample of 16 historical instances of an emerging power rivaling a ruling power, 12 ended in a war. The conflict between China and the US led to bans and restriction on many Chinese companies in the US. Huawei Technology was accused of espionage and security risk. Its telecom equipment raised concerns about Chinese government using it for surveillance. Huawei devices were also banned from being sold in the US in 2022. And other concerns include DJI. It is a security risk due to its data collection, especially from government agency use. Concerns were raised about potential surveillance. TikTok and CapCut may also be banned over data and security issues. This has led to investigations and regulatory pressure, and a current lawsuit against the government. Many of these companies also hold a large market share compared to US rivals. This has led to some to call these policies a form of economic protectionism. For example, Huawei phones are considered just as good as iPhones. Huawei now only has 3% of the global cell phone market, and it peaked back in 2020 before the ban at 10%. The drone and camera company DJI is facing a similar ban today. It captured 90% of the drone market share, and it's known for its reliability, price, and performance. This is a Mini 2 that I purchased from DJI a couple years ago, and it turns out when I was doing research, there's no other company that has a better price and performance when it comes to this drone. And when it comes to drones in the US, DJI is basically the gold standard. And unfortunately, when this device gets banned in the US, there's really no replacement for it. In October of 2022, the US Department of Defense banned using DJI drones for military use. It cites a national security concern and a possible complete ban coming soon. The US actions here are to protect national security and intellectual property. The context is a plan to keep tech as well as economic dominance over China, as it's rapidly emerging as a global competitor in both areas. Both nations also disagree on key international issues. This includes Taiwan's sovereignty, the ownership of the South and East China Sea. Other disagreements include North Korea, the Ukrainian invasion, and sanctions on Venezuela and Iran. Due to the risk of war if these issues escalate, US sanctions and bans aim to keep its competitive edge. This applies to many areas such as semiconductor, telecom, the internet, aviation, space tech, and software. For instance, the US was aggressive about Huawei. It valued telecommunication tech for its role in military operations. Also, Huawei's global telecom presence benefited China's power projection. The same can be said about banning products from DJI and even TikTok, since it can be a tool for Chinese propaganda. A more recent ban was even announced on EV software and hardware from China. The restrictions on China are not a universal ban. Unlike the West and the US, who imposed strict measures against the Soviet states under COCOM, US and its allies continue to supply China with critical and essential capital goods. For example, in 2022, coalition of Western nations still supplied China with billions of low-end semiconductor machinery. Furthermore, 94% of all tech goods under the Commerce Department-led export controls were approved to be sold in China. The relationship between the United States and China is a strange one. Similar to Japan in the 80s, there are hints of economic protectionism. Japan was seen as a rising superpower who has a trade surplus with the United States. American manufacturers felt that they were losing to Japanese imports. This was especially true in the automotive as well as electronics sector. Under the pressure of the United States, Nissan agreed to a quota. It would limit the number of cars exported to the US. This was part of a broader talk to fix trade imbalances. The US government also took steps to scrutinize Japanese investments. This led to new rules on foreign ownership in certain sectors, although not always forced divestments. Japan was still considered an ally of the United States despite this. Critics of the US actions against Chinese firms argue that national security is a guise for economic protectionism. These critics argue that the US seeks to protect its economic and tech interests. They say that this is due to the rising competition from China and not real security threats. China has already made great strides in high-tech industries. These include 5G, AI, and semiconductors. The ban on TikTok, a Chinese social media giant, was framed as a national security risk due to concerns over data collection. However, many observers have noted that the app's massive success in the US social media market and competitions with American companies like Facebook and YouTube may have played a big role in the government's decision. In 2018, the Trump administration imposed Section 305 tariffs on Chinese goods. They were a part of a trade war to stop China's unfair trade practices. It seems that the broader US-China rivalry is not only about national security but also about economic dominance in the future. The US wants to keep its tech leadership so it can limit Chinese companies' access to key technology and markets. Given the trade war, it's likely that the national security concerns are mixed with economic motives. Protecting domestic industries and intellectual properties often overlap with national security, making it difficult to disentangle the two. There are certainly concerns about what would happen if a confrontation were ever to happen between the United States and China. Yet I'm sure neither side would want such an event. A more likely scenario would be the continued proxy war like the situation in Ukraine. US and Russia would never risk a direct confrontation, instead fight through Ukraine. Russia launched an attack on Ukraine, which is not technically an ally with the States. The United States then launched a proxy war by supplying them with weapons and funding. In my personal opinion, the two governments here are simply trying to act in their own self-interest, and this ban and restriction on certain companies is not exclusive to the US. China has banned numerous US companies such as Facebook, Google, and Instagram. In May of 2023, China banned US memory maker Micron from selling to key infrastructure operators, citing national security risk as well. As you can see, both countries are attacking each other's industries as well as preserving their own interests whether they intend to or not. Both countries also insist that their actions are for national security, but evidence support that economic protectionism also plays a role. Both countries can justify actions as national security that may seem protectionist in trade.
Look, the recent announcement by the PRC regarding Micron, we believe are not based in fact.
The line between security and competition is often blurred. This is true in industries where tech dominance has both economic as well as military effects. What is clear, however, is that these policies affect the average person in both countries. Millions of businesses and individuals rely on apps like TikTok. There's no real alternative due to its secret algorithm that Instagram and YouTube lack. Real estate and media companies who use DJI drones must now find an expensive replacement of lesser quality. It looks like the average person and business in these countries are simply the collaterals here. The US government even mentioned this in the defense against the TikTok lawsuit when asked about its effect on the voice of millions of Americans. And they essentially said that we're simply collaterals in this case.
The TikTok ban lawsuit court hearing was this morning, and I sat in court for a very long time. They called us basically collateral. Personally, I was glad there wasn't cameras in the courtroom because this was my face when he said that.
And there's no way to really tell how long this conflict will last. The anti-Japanese sentiment ended when the Japanese economy crashed. It caused a long recession, and Japan is still not fully recovered. And I feel that things will not really change until China or the United States suffers the same fate. In the meantime, this will become the status quo, more bans, restrictions, and propaganda against each other in the future. And this will continue to be the case, especially when national interest and economic protectionism is often blurred. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. For more content like this, make sure you subscribe to this channel. In my next video, I want to talk about why this small area produced some of the best Olympic athletes in the world. And the DMV itself, or DC, Maryland, and Virginia would have finished inside the top 10 in the Paris Games in 2024. I found this topic very interesting, so I'm really looking forward to this video, and I'll talk to you guys again next time.